On today's show, Mavs fans are too low on what Cooper Flagg can actually be. I'm going to tell you what he can be and give you all the results of our Mavs fan survey. And today's Locked On Mavs. Stop it! Let's go! Stop! The number one pick will go to the Dallas Mavericks. Cooper Flagg will fly in Dallas.
Dogs, all of us, all five.
You are Locked On Mavs. Great, your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Still can't leave.
Your team every day.
I'm gonna get a city like that.
And welcome. You're locked on to the Dallas Mavericks, your team every day. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Mavs for 10 years. Thanks for being an everydayer, making Locked On Mavs your first listen each and every day. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. And joining me, as always, my co-host, media member covering the Mavs for 10 years, right alongside me, the Survey Sultan, the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
So what do you think about this Cracker Barrel saga with their rebrand?
Justice for the old guy by the barrel.
What's his name? Like Herschel or something?
Senor Cracker. They can't remove the cracker and the barrel from the logo.
I've been following this Cracker Barrel thing pretty closely, and it's just been my favorite thing ever. Was there all this backlash, and then the CEO goes on Good Morning America and it's like, and literally says to Michael Strahan, Michael, you know, the overwhelming majority feedback has been positive. And it's been great.
That's what Mark Cuban said about the graffiti jerseys.
Yeah. And it's like, all right. And then 2 days later, you're changing the logo back and you're issuing like a statement. And like,
You know what? You want me to ruin this show for a lot of our audience?
Oh no.
Just really happy Gavin Newsom just made that happen. Just really happy that.
Oh my gosh, you're going there. I just want, like, and even the Cracker Barrel thing got political. It's like, what the crap? It's a logo change.
It's all stupid. We're going to talk about something that's not stupid today. We're going to talk about the Mavs fan survey that we put out. And a couple thousand of you answered the call for this, and it was awesome. We got a ton of responses. We appreciate each and every one of you that did the survey. We're going to go through a bunch of questions about Cooper Flagg. We'll go through a bunch of questions about the Mavs roster. Who should be the fifth starter? Where would the Mavs finish in the standings? The Mavs' biggest weakness was pretty interesting that came up that we haven't really talked about a ton. But let's start here, Isaac Harris. I think there are some Mavs fans that are not high enough on what Cooper Flagg can be. The residue from the trade, from all the stuff that went wrong, from everything, from the conspiracy theory that the number one pick like brought about, from all of that, lost in that is that I think Cooper Flagg's gonna be better than some Mavericks fans think that he's gonna be, because we set out the survey and 34% think he's going to be an MVP caliber player. I'm with them. I think he's going to be that good. I think he's very good. Number one pick. Those teams did not tank all the way to the bottom as hard as they did last year to get somebody that doesn't have the potential to be an MVP type player. 33% said he's going to be a multi-year first team All-NBA. Great. That's pretty good. 26.6% said multi-year All-Star, where they don't think he's going to be like an all-NBA type player. They don't think he's going to be an MVP caliber type player. And that's a fourth. That's a fourth of the Mavericks fans that filled this out think, well, let's temper expectations on him. And then 6%, which is like not small from that group of people, said he's going to be a long-time starter. Just don't see the star power with Cooper Flagg. And I think that I think that 26% that think he's just going to be an all-star and 6% that think he's just a starter are way too low on Cooper Flagg.
No, I agree. I filled out the survey too, and I picked the multi-year first team. It's not I just look at different players in history. I look at somebody like Kevin Garnett, or even somebody like Dirk, that, Dirk got one of those things, one of the MVPs, and in 2007, and I look at some of the other guys that he's comped to, like Kawhi or Jason Tatum. These guys don't have MVPs, so it's like the MVP stuff gets so narrative driven and situational based every year. A lot of times you got to be able to score a lot amount of points, and I think that's the only thing for me that I look at it and say, I think he can be first team All NBA. I think he can be one of the most impactful players in the league, two-way guys. I just don't know if he's ever going to be the guy that scores 33 a game and is that like type of score, like a, like an SGA or something. Yeah.
Would say, but Luka is that scorer, but you would say Luka's an MVP caliber player.
Yeah.
And he's
and I think
third once,
yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true. So I could be wrong.
That's how I took it, is that he's just going to be that level of player. I looked at these as levels, as tiers, as maybe you would call it, like tiers of how good they could be. And I think that he's just going to be that impactful. And I think that we're going to see all-stars at a certain point that don't average 30 a game. Jokic, what, 1 year didn't he average like 24 points a game?
That's true.
Cooper Flagg can absolutely get there and be impactful in other different ways. He can be additive in other different ways to a basketball team and to winning. And so that first ceiling one I just found really interesting. The rookie of the year one, 82.5% said that Cooper Flagg's going to win it. There's 17% that don't think that he's going to win rookie of the year. Maybe they're just playing the odds here.
And it's a Mavs fan survey.
I know. I was like 17%.
Crap. Did y'all vote for Nimhard?
I should have looked to see how many people think he's just going to be like a multi-year all-star or a longtime starter and picks him not to win rookie of the year. There's got to be some kind of correlation with it.
Yeah, this is one I think is the most confident in. Last time we checked on FanDuel, he had minus odds, I think, for it. And it's not just because of how good Cooper is, but the fact that 17.5% of people voted the field, I kind of just want to know, like, who are you going for? Because Dylan Harper's really good, but he's going to come off the bench. And it's like, do you think VJ Edgecombe is going to be that prolific? You got to typically be able to score a lot of points. I guess if Ace Bailey just really hits in Utah and scores over 20 a game or something, that could be a conversation. Even like, Jakob Jonas in Miami, I like him a lot as like a sleeper, but it's like, I don't think he's going to put up the number. I just think this one's the easiest one. Like, Cooper Flagg's got the rookie of the year in the bag.
I think that's just the hesitation from a lot of Mavs fans that like they don't deserve nice things. That kind of feeling of just like, you know what, let's not. And there is this feeling among some Mavs fans that I've read and that I've heard, and we've heard in our text line, like people have said, man, you guys got to pump the brakes on this Cooper Flagg hype because you're putting too much pressure on him. You're setting him up to fail and all that. No, like he is that good. He should be favorite to win rookie of the year. He's minus 185.
Nothing we're doing, guys.
Yeah, he's minus 180. We're going off of all the people that watched him, all the people that we've had on this show.
Slam is building him up too much. Sports Illustrated is building him up too. ESPN is.
We've had our guys from No Ceilings, from the Locked On NBA Draft with No Ceiling show on, and they raved about him and said he's incredible. We had obviously Rafael. That's right. We obviously had Rafael Barlow on to talk about him. We've had our guy from Locked On Blue Devils on to talk about how good he is. Like these guys we've watched every single game. I've seen him in person multiple times. They know how good he is, and aren't just blowing smoke because they're Mavs fans, because they're not, right? The next closest rookie of the year, by the way, Trey Johnson plus 800.
Yeah, so I guess it's like what does Trey Johnson like? What's he gonna do to
play for the Wizards?
I know, and that's the thing.
Get the opportunity, I guess.
I think if Dylan Harper went to Washington or went to somewhere else where he's gonna just like have this like free reign type of thing, I don't know. I just think Cooper's just both sides of the ball. He's got this award.
So Cooper Flagg minus 185. So you got to bet $185 to win $100. So that's minus odds. Trey Johnson plus 800, meaning you got to bet $100 and you win $800. So that's a good deal. Dylan Harper plus 1,000, VJ Edgecombe plus 1,300, Ace Bailey plus 1,500, and then Con Knippel plus 3,500. That would be a wild one.
I don't even know if he's going to start.
Coming up, I was surprised at how split Mavs fans' hype is for Cooper Flagg. This goes with what we were saying before. You'll be surprised to hear how split this one was. We'll talk about that and more coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Monarch Money. Oh, I need this. Just went on vacation. And you know when you go on vacation and you're just like throwing that card around everywhere. You're just like Apple Watch, Apple Pay this. You're just swiping here. You're going to, I drove. And so I am paying at gas stations all over the place. And just money is just going all over the place. And when you come back to reality, you come back home, you got to figure out what was the damage I just did. And that is how Monarch Money is absolutely helpful. You don't have to organize everything. You don't have to go through all your receipts and do all that. You have to just go to Monarch Money and pull it up. It's built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch Money is for you. It does the heavy lifting. You link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Check it out at Monarch Money. It'll help you out. Use this code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off. Half off. So you go to it and you see what you're going to pay. Then you put the code in and then it gets cut in half. Monarchmoney.com. The code is LOCKEDONNBA. Monarchmoney.com.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad. That's what we call our listeners, listening every single day. We're going 5 days a week through the offseason, baby. It doesn't matter if one of us is MIA, if one of us is going to Disney soon. Doesn't matter. We're going to still be doing a show. Great stuff for you. And we have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We put together a survey. Locked On has put this survey together, not the one we're talking about today. Learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't like, answer questions about our advertising. Go to LockedOnPodcasts.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes the survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, LockedOnPodcasts.com/survey. You can find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping us out, filling out that survey. Let's talk about our survey that we did. Talking about Cooper Flagg a little bit. I wanted this question about how hyped Mavericks fans are for Cooper Flagg. And so I said, how hyped are you for Cooper Flagg to be on the Mavericks? More hyped than I expected to be, less hyped than I expected to be, or as hyped as you could possibly be. And 38.8% said more hyped than I expected to be. 35% said as hyped as you could possibly be. So they're already at cloud nine and they weren't going to get any higher. 25% said less hype than expected. And this is the section of Mavs fans that is getting a lot of attention right now from people where they just don't feel it for the Mavs anymore, right? Like you're just like in a relationship and it was going well and then something happened and all of a sudden it just doesn't feel the same anymore. Like the sky is not as blue. The little quirks that they have just don't come off as cute to you anymore. You know, I feel like a lot of people have that relationship with the Mavericks right now. And I thought that split was funny, but it was nice that there was like almost 40% that they were more hyped than they expected to be.
Yeah, I was shocked by that 25% number because I think there's one thing to be kind of like bummed about the Mavs or having like a weird thing with the Mavs right now. It still feels like there's stuff that comes out every like few weeks that's just like, why? Like that billboard thing. And, you know, Victory Park with Overwatch and Luca. And it's just like, you're kind of just doing this to yourselves at this point. Like, I mean, come on. Like, but the Cooper thing, I was surprised by that number because it's like Cooper didn't do anything. If there's one thing to be excited about, it's Cooper Flagg. But the fact that it's like Cooper is just synonymous with the Mavs for some Mavs fans right now is just.
The trade is just synonymous with the Mavs right now. Like people, we'll talk about the trade one in a different episode, but we asked a bunch of questions about that. But people are just not going to let that go. That 25% I think represents the section of Mavericks fans that are just like sad anytime they interact with Maverick stuff now.
And that's the thing. It's like this is a couple thousand people, a small snapshot of, or I mean a pretty good snapshot of Mavs fans that I would want to take this question to ownership of the Mavs or Nico Harrison, or I mean, Nico probably doesn't care, but, and be like, you got the number 1 overall pick in a draft that has a generational guy that we've been following since high school that like shocked the world. And you still have a quarter of your fan base that is like
engaged. These are engaged fans. They're filling out our survey, right? Like they're filling out this survey. They're still engaged with Maverick stuff and they're still not excited. And you know, I have one thing to say about that.
Why shouldn't you be fired?
That's funny.
The guy
that was additive.
It's great.
I also wanted to know how hyped people were comparing their excitement for Luka Doncic when he was drafted and Cooper Flagg. Take yourself back to 2018. We were as hyped as you could be. I remember that night. Me and you were sitting there at the American Airlines Center when it was about to happen, and we were sitting there going, is Wes Matthews not being traded really the reason why they're not?
Wes Matthews for Kent Bazemore is going to hold this up?
I literally looked at you and I said this. I said, this is going to be another Giannis thing if they don't get this done.
Yeah.
like they pass on Giannis. But compare your excitement for Cooper Flagg to when the Mavs first drafted Luka Doncic. I am more excited for Flagg. I was more excited for Luka. I'm equally as hyped. Which one do you think got the most? Which one would you have thought?
I would have guessed Luka, but not by the margin that it ended up at.
46% said I was more excited for Luka. 29% said I'm more excited for Flagg. 25% said I'm equally as hyped. So there's 25% that are just super hyped about all this. But I think this is some revisionist history. Like, I'm going to call BS on the listeners here for a second, because I think this is, looking back, like, Luka was the third pick. There was a lot of questions about Luka. I remember doing shows where we were having to convince people in our audience.
Some of y'all didn't even know about about it.
And we were like, this guy is for real, and we were all about it. And I feel like we're doing that again for Cooper Flagg, which is weird for some people.
I'm with you. It's the revisionist history stuff, because I think there was some excitement, intrigue over Luka. Definitely the hardcore people who followed him were super excited. I think that excitement there. I think there's a lot of, with all the stuff he did over the 7 years in Dallas. With Cooper, it's funny because Cooper's grew up in America, and all the stuff, like, we've heard about it. And I only say that is because, like, we've heard about all of his high school stuff more than what we here in the States got to hear about Luka at Real Madrid when he was 16.
Luka played a preseason game before.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, we had that moment at least, but we still have heard more about that Team USA moment for Cooper Flagg than we heard about that, right?
Yeah. It's just wild that it was kind of surprising for me to be an over, or what, close to 20% difference between them two. But I'm with you. I kind of call bull on it.
But there is hype. There's hype all around for sure. The standings, we wanted to know, where do you think the Mavericks will finish? And nearly 60% of Mavericks fans that filled this out said that they'll finish in the top 6. 10% said in the top 4, and 48%, so the vast majority, said that they'll be in that 4 to 6 range. So they'll be in the playoffs. They'll not be in the play-in. They'll be in the playoffs, but they'll be a top 6 team. I was surprised 60% said that. That is optimistic.
Yeah, I love it. No, I'm with them. I voted the same way. I thought, the play-in, I feel like, is a lot of, feels like the majority of people I talk to in the media sphere type of thing is like that play-in range is the one that they go to. I think a lot of fans just don't know what to do with it right now. I don't think they know what to do with their fan base or their fandom. I don't think they know what to do with what this team could be. Got a question, a Q&A question through our Locked On Mavs Insider program, which you need to subscribe to. And, I answered it yesterday, but it was somebody saying, is this the best Mavs team on paper? Like, I feel like we got Mavs fans that are like so optimistic, and you're like looking at the paper and you're like, dude, Anthony Davis, Kyrie's going to come back, Cooper Flagg, #1 pick, all this stuff. And they're like, how are we not going to be one of the best teams in the West? And then you also have fans right now that are just like, dude, we suck. We made the trade. There's injuries. We're banking a lot on a rookie. And it just feels like more extreme more than ever right now with fans.
Oh, for sure. I think the 7 to 10 is also an indictment on the injury situation too, and the health.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's definitely a big thing. If you're really pessimistic about Anthony Davis and you're like, oh, day-to-day Davis, street clothes, he's going to play 40 games, then I get picking 7 to 10 because this team is still deep. This team's going to have, it still has a lot of good NBA players on it, and it's one of the deeper teams in the West. And yet, you don't have Anthony Davis. You're gonna get left behind a little bit on there. Only 4% said 11 to 15 and missed the postseason.
Yeah, that's good. I would have predicted that. I would have maybe thought that some people, there would have been a little bit more than 10% on the 1 through 4. That's
just the delusional crowd, right? Like,
is it though? Like,
maybe not delusional fully, but maybe just delulu. Like, doesn't that take the edge off of delusional a little bit?
There's not like a path though. Like, I mean, even if you take those like top, like OKC, Denver, Houston, I feel like a lot of people would say those 4 teams. Is it like crazy for them to finish 4th? I don't think it's 10%
we both
crazy.
voted 4 to 6. That still includes 4.
Yeah. So I guess that's my thing. I was like, is 4 that crazy? Like yeah. That's like what, Minnesota, Lakers.
You give me 70 Anthony Davis games, 65 Anthony Davis games, and I think they can get there for sure.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
That's not a big ask. He did that 2 years ago.
That's true.
Coming up, the Mavs' biggest weakness we didn't put in the survey, and even the one that was voted on is not the most interesting one to me. There's a third one that I think is the most interesting Mavs' biggest weakness we haven't given enough attention to. We'll tell you what that is coming up.
Well, one, I think I've done a really good job here.
Thanks for hanging out with us here on Locked On Mavs. Fill out the survey, lockedonpodcast.com/survey. We're going through our survey today, and we send this out. Hopefully a lot of you answered it. And we're going through, we just went through the standings. We talked about Cooper Flagg. And the Mavs' biggest weakness, this is another one I found really interesting. We didn't put playmaking or on-ball creation in it. Thought it would just be too easy. I thought that would be like a 90%. If we just put that in there. So we took it out, and I put it in the thing. I said, what's the Mavs' biggest weakness outside of playmaking and creation? But I just didn't want that in there. Health was 50%. Literally 50% put health. Totally makes sense. Probably should have left that one out too. It was just too overwhelming. 23% said shooting. Which is something we have not talked about enough. I think I've mentioned it a couple times. Like whenever we talk about, well, they could trade Klay. Well, if they trade Klay, or if they don't start Klay, or if they don't have enough lineups, if he doesn't play enough, the Mavs shooting really goes downhill. And that's kind of the only way we've talked about it. But it is a big weakness for this team. And a minority owner was recently on a Mavericks podcast, and he said that the Mavericks will be great and will be fine if and they will go as far as Anthony Davis and Dereck Lively's 3-point shot takes them. And when Mark Cuban said that on our friend's show, the DLS show, Tim Cato even pushed back and said that is not going to happen, basically, is what Tim said right to Mark's face. And you know what? I kind of agree with him, because it would be unprecedented, because Anthony Davis has been like a 30% 3-point shooter, and Dereck Lively has made 1 3, and it was in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, I think there's one thing of saying like, hey, the ceiling for the Mavs is dependent on that, and another thing to say it's going to happen. And because I do think if those two guys do shoot at a high clip, then yeah, I mean, that raises the ceiling drastically for the Mavs. But I'm with the fans on this one of the shooting as a concern, because when you commit to the 2 big system, and neither one of the bigs is like a solid stretch 5. Like, and let's say like Brook Lopez, when in Milwaukee and stuff, like he was a knockdown 3-point shooter and could defend the paint back a handful of years ago. Lively and AD is just not that right now, or at least statistically. Hopefully they can be. And then after that, it's like, all right, well, who else is on the floor? Yeah, Klay's amazing. If it's not PJ out there, then if it's like Najee or Caleb Martin or even Max Christie at times, like, yeah, I mean, PJ shot the ball really well last year, which is another reason why he should get that extension. But yeah, I'm with him. It is a little bit of work. I mean, the offense as a whole, and no one's really worried about the defense. That's where even yesterday I talked about on yesterday's show of like, that's one of my fears, is that at moments or stretches this upcoming season, feel like I'm going to get like an Orlando feel of really good defense, but man, this offense is clunky, and it's like, oh, this is like painful to watch on offense sometimes.
And they're going to be like the Rockets last year, where they score a lot in transition and in offensive rebounds, and sometimes the best shot may be them missing a shot. That literally
they better get out in transition.
That was the case for the Rockets last year. Yeah, I found the shooting one was an interesting one. The other options we gave were roster construction. 12% said that one. Point of attack defense and perimeter defense, which I feel like we could have combined those. But 9.5% on point of attack defense and 5% on perimeter defense. So some people are concerned. That's like 15%. We're concerned about the perimeter defense as the biggest weakness. That's pretty big.
I do point of attack defense. I understand that one.
The biggest strength. for the team. We put front court size, interior defense, depth bench, and star power. 46% said front court size, 32% said interior defense. So it means obvious that's the strength of the team. Just those two things right there.
Yeah. I mean, when you give Gafford the extension and you have Gafford, Lively's in year 3 now as a lottery pick. Anthony Davis. I mean, Dwight Powell, Mount Rushmore. Powell.
I mean, that's the 1.8% that said star power. They're thinking of Dwight Powell.
That's true. Yeah.
The 5th starter one I found a little interesting. Who should start with Anthony Davis, Cooper Flagg, Dereck Lively, and Kyrie? So we're assuming that Kyrie will come back in this question.
Yeah.
60% said Klay. 27% said PJ. 10% said Max Christie. And then 1% Caleb Martin. And then 1% said other, which I guess is Najee, D'Lo. Like I don't even know who.
Well, I know who it's not. It's not Omax.
Explain yourself.
Sorry.
This one kind of surprised me, and I honestly thought it was funny because Jason Kidd is when he's talked about the starters or Cooper's fit and stuff with the team. It feels like he's mentioned PJ multiple times.
Yeah,
and we have 60% of the fan base that's saying the opposite of the head coach of who they think should start. I don't know if that comes into play of who people think will start and not should. Because I think a lot of us would say we think Klay will start. It was just a bigger percentage for Klay over PJ than what I thought. I do think Klay Thompson starts. And honestly, I think he should start. But
I think he should start too. Do you think though that maybe like the hotties got in and answered this question?
Ooh, maybe the spaghetti lovers. They got in.
Give me some fried catfish and spaghetti. Let's go.
I thought it was chicken parm the first time I seen it, and
I mean, it has that
slightly
appearance.
told me it was fish. So
Go for slightly. The hotties is what Megan Thee Stallion's fans call them.
Themselves. Hey, there's been a lot of talk about engagement over the last 48 hours. Just wait until that engagement happens.
An athlete and a musician getting engaged. It's a love story, baby. Just
you think
say
the
yes.
other one broke the internet? Wait until Megan and Klay.
Couple more will do. This one is D'Angelo Russell enough of a Kyrie stopgap replacement? 70% said yes. He and the crew, Dante X and Brandon Williams, are enough.
D-Lo Hive, stand up, baby. Let's go.
20% said no. They should have traded for somebody better. 10% said no. Should have signed somebody cheap and done that. I was surprised by how overwhelming this was. I thought people would say because 60% said they're going to finish in the top 6. And 70% say that the D'Lo is enough of a replacement. So there's confidence in D'Lo right there.
This one surprised me, yeah. Just because I feel like D'Lo consistently gets crapped on by people. And I thought this was going to be more of a 50-50 split. That was my prediction going into it. And 70% of people was excited about it. And the answers to some of these other questions that you gave the results to doesn't show that everything's just like rainbows and sugar plums for everybody either. Like not everything is like overly positive on every single question. So the fact that that's 70% is pretty cool for him.
It's good for D'Lo that there's confidence there. 70%. I mean 70%. That's one of the highest answers we got on this whole survey.
That's why I enjoyed last week, or is it this? No, it was this week, earlier this week, when Bobby Crawler was on. I was joking with him about it because I really wanted to press him on it. He wanted Westbrook over D'Lo at one point, and
he said that out loud.
But no, I've just been more of a D'Lo believer in this situation in Dallas than him, and I really wanted to press him on it on the podcast, but. Yeah.
Another question was about the Mavs' current roster is ... Fine, dependent on health, well built with clear advantages, or deeply flawed and needs work. 71% said fine, dependent on health. Fine.
That's what I answered. Yeah.
I think I would do that too. It was hilarious to me that well built and deeply flawed were tied. Literally the same amount of people think that the team is awesome and the construction of the roster is great. And 14% think that it's terrible and like needs a lot of work and is deeply flawed. I just found that really funny. I also started to go through the 14% said deeply flawed. 26 people said they'll still be top 6 in the West. They think the roster is deeply flawed, and yet they will also finish in the top 6.
All 26 out of that 14%.
26 people, yeah.
It's like the math is not mathing.
Yeah, 2 people, I don't know who these people are. Reveal yourself to me. 2 people said the roster is deeply flawed, needs work, and yet they will finish in the top 4 in the West.
Oh.
I guess you could have the Rockets, you could say maybe were a deeply flawed roster last year, and they were number 2.
Maybe they think Cooper's going to be like an MVP candidate.
In year 1.
Hey, this roster's flawed, but it doesn't matter. Cooper's carrying them.
Last one we'll do is the most expendable contract. This was an interesting one about how kind of split it was. 46% said Gafford, which makes sense. The contract was written up to be tradable. We've talked about that a lot. 33% said Klay. I wonder how many think shooting is one of the biggest weaknesses, but also think Klay is expendable. 20.7% said PJ is the most expendable contract.
I thought Gafford's would be a little bit higher on here, but there is a pretty good following from a good portion of Mavs fans for Daniel Gafford. And I get it. He's a fun player to root for, and he's had some fun moments in Dallas. I thought it would just be more based off the last contract he signed.
I think the Gafford thing also goes to the insecurity about injuries with Lively and AD too.
It's true, yeah.
If you think that's the strength of the Mavericks team, then keep them all. Like keep that as the strength, because all of a sudden if you do lose Gafford and you replace him, it's got to be additive. You've got to add something to another section of the team to make that more of a strength for sure. That's why we were all for a Kobe White potential trade, because all of a sudden that makes your playmaking, your shooting, like that makes a lot of those areas a little bit better and lifts up a weakness, even if that takes some of the teeth off of your strength.
Yeah, I wonder what that percentage would say for Omax.
You want to talk about this real quick? You're real sad about this.
I am. It's a bummer.
Mark Stein reported that the Mavs are in talks or are working on creating room for Dante Exum, and that would entail dumping Omax's contract, which we've talked about for months.
I was going to say, we talked about. I heard that early on in the summer that Omax was going to be the guy. That's why we've said, hey, it's probably going to be Omax over and over again. I thought they would have had it done by now, that he would be on a different team. I am kind of surprised of like, I don't care how y'all feel about Omax. He shouldn't. The fact that a team wouldn't like take him and like take a swing on him, you might have to attach a second. I think it's kind of crazy. I don't think he's been like he's that bad at this young in his career.
Yeah, there are teams that have players that are playing that are worse than him.
Yes,
for sure. But also the reason why it hasn't happened is because there's no deadline. The deadline is like the first. It's like the start of the season, or when they have
media day.
When they have to cut. Yeah, when they have to cut down to 15 players. Like,
nah, I guess they get it done over the next couple of weeks and before media day for sure. But
well, the Stein report doesn't come out unless actual talks are happening, right? Like conversations were had, and so now maybe guys are coming back from vacations and things like that, and now they're
Mavs gym's been heating up. Players coming back and stuff. Get ready.
We've been seeing all these guys get ready. I'm excited. It's making me excited for the season. Tomorrow, we're going to do more of these answers. We got a whole other set of questions about the management, what people think about Patrick Dumont, what they think about Nico, what they think about Dirk not being around the team. That one kind of surprised me. We'll talk about that and do all that. Go fill out the survey, lockedonpodcast.com/survey. And then also check out our subtext. There's a link in the description or the QR code. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.